Good afternoon and welcome back. Today is the last day of our conference. It has been a long week. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed our presenters. Yesterday, I really was happy to hear Dr. Abinate talk about research-based, what research says about training. Too often we're not using research for that. And I really liked how Dr. Cheryl Spittler closed it out on talking about teacher mental health. I was a classroom teacher for 26 years before I became the safety director, and I'm going to tell you, I do not think that I have what it takes to survive in this teaching environment. So hats off to our teachers. Let's get them all the help they can. I also want to thank those of you who have reached out to me asking for resources. That is not a time-dated thing. Anytime you need something from me, if just ask, because I have a ton of information that I've accumulated over the years, and I want to make sure that you have access to that. If I could get Joyce or Sabella to put up the MERP slide just for a second. I want to remind you that there's going to be two raffles today. We'll talk about the second one in a minute, but the first one, we have a product called the Mobile Emergency Response Plan. It allows you to access your safety plans on your tablet, phone, or smart device, your computer. And we will be giving out one subscription to a school district or higher ed. They're going to be doing the drawings for that between this session and Sergeant Beach's session at the end. But I see that they haven't got that up, which is A-OK. So I want us to go ahead and get rolling. I had the pleasure of presenting at a conference in California. I believe it was last year, maybe it was 2 years ago. And Lori was one of the speakers. And I just want to tell you this. So as you people are sitting here listening, and as I've received letters, emails from people, and you're telling me the things that you're doing in your schools, I want you to know that you could very easily be one of these presenters. And so whenever I travel, whether I'm speaking or as a participant, I'm always looking for someone who can get up and share their experiences. I still work in school districts all over the United States, but I have a different role than when I was knee deep in it every day in the same district, going out to all the buildings. So I want you to think about this. You too could be a presenter. Let's see, Lori. Let's see. I'm not getting any audio. I'm hoping somebody's hearing this. Lori, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
I'm loud. You could probably hear me from California, so I'm kind of loud. Yeah, so you know that. But anyways, so Lori, and I think I've told you guys before this. I was a police officer. I still am a police officer. In the academy, when we had our first aid, they pretty much taught us that Band-Aids go sticky side down. And that was the extent of it. We were supposed to wait on the medics, and I never really felt that that was a good plan. And so I took additional training, and I'm trained in stop the bleed and tactical casualty combat care, etc. And one of the things that I'm really glad to see is this stop the bleed program, not just being used in the schools, but taught everywhere. And now we have it up. So here we go. So this is the MERP 2.0. This will be in your handouts. It'll show you how to access, here's the URL. It's the username is K12demo@demo.com. That'll be for the username. Password is pretty hard. It's the word password and the number 1. If you go to your Apple or Android store and you download this version of it, use the same username and password, you'll be able to actually play around with it and see how it works. But somebody is going to be contacting me either today or on Monday because their school district or university is going to win a free 1-year subscription to this. So depending on your size of your school district, if you have 500 staff members, this is going to be worth about $1,250 for a year subscription. So, Joyce, let's put Lori's back on. And, are you wearing the shirt, Lori, that says this shirt can save your life? There we go. Okay. That's how I knew that Lori was going to be a great speaker, when I saw her wearing a shirt that said that. So without further ado, I'm going to turn off my microphone and I'm going to let Lori fill you in about her background and just teach us some really, really, really good stuff. So with that, Lori, take it.
Thank you so much, Gary. Can everybody hear me? Perfect. So, hi, I'm Lori. This is my first virtual conference presentation, and I would be lying if I'm saying I'm not a little nervous, but I'm so glad you're all here. I call myself a recovered paramedic. I was a paramedic in the field for 24 years, which is long enough to know better. And the minute I saw Gary sitting in that audience, I was like, hi, cop, you're a cop, and it's going to be awesome. So, I'm in the Sacramento area, and you have my information. If after this presentation you have more questions, it is my delight to talk about this, because I really, really believe it makes a difference. So we'll just get going. Hartford Consensus came out after the tragedy at Sandy Hook. And as a result of everything that was really actually happening in Colorado. This really started in Colorado, and they decided that we can't make more hospitals, we can't make more of anything that are expensive, nurses, doctors, all of that. So we really have to get information out to the public who can make a difference. Does that make sense? And also, this is going to come into play, my super cool shirt. This is a great shirt if you're an introvert to wear, by the way. Awesome. It's bright red. Everybody notices you. It's perfect. So at the end of the day, what we really want you to do is be prepared. We're going to give you some simple tips and tricks that are going to give you hopefully ideas that you can implement in your school district, or you can obviously use for yourself. How long do you think it takes? So if you cut a high pressure pipe in your body, you will bleed out in 3 minutes. I like the picture that under the 3 minutes, or on top of that, it's that old woman giving the young woman advice. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, make it quick, cut deep. Terrible. However, on the other side of that, it takes about 6 to 8 minutes for an ambulance to arrive. So you can bleed out in 3 minutes, and the ambulance will likely be 6 to 8 minutes later. How many people saw at the awful Las Vegas incident, all of these guys coming out of this conference or the country concert not wearing a shirt? Why were they not wearing a shirt? Like, doesn't even make any sense. They were taking off their shirt to use that to stuff wounds. So that's why this shirt can save a life is important. Little history, just so you understand where it came from. The class that Gary was in, the TCCC, that's where combat care started, because when I was initially trained as a medic, and maybe some of you know this as well, they told us to never put on tourniquets, that you would sacrifice a life, like it would kill them and they would lose a limb. That is absolutely not true. We've thrown a war in Iraq, and we've shown time and time again that it absolutely saves lives. In fact, it does more than save lives. It saves an estimated $400 billion in healthcare because of the time saved in hospitalization cost. Crazy, right? So they took the principles from TCCC, put it into law enforcement, and then law enforcement said, well, it would be really handy to have this in the public as well. So Stop the Bleed was formed in 2014. The White House came out with it. They said, hey, we're going to do this. And like nobody responded. Everybody's like, okay. And then FEMA put some money behind it. Everybody's like, woo, so we should stop the bleed. We're like, yeah, totally. It saves lives and money. All right, this is my only slide on like medical stuff, because I know you're totally fascinated. I know. So just know, like I referred to before, you have a high pressure pipe and that low pressure pipe. High pressure pipe, fun fact, squirts blood and can go as far as 30 feet. Right. And then the low pressure pipe, if you hit a big enough one, it's going to ooze. All right, that's enough of a little bit of the grossness. Let's get to how much, right? How much? So with an arm, you can lose 3 cans of soda. So you can count those cans in a 170-pound person. That's how much fluid you have on board in cans of soda. Okay. So if I hit an artery in my leg, I can lose up to 4 cans of soda. You stop making good decisions after 4 you lose fine motor control, you lose a bunch of stuff, and you're going to be at the hospital for a while, weeks, with 26% blood loss. That doesn't correlate to going home as well as you were. And then in the arm, you can lose 3 cans of soda. What? So the whole point in this presentation is to give you the tips and tricks to minimize the cans of soda that are lost. So if that's a 170-pound person, check out the 120-pound person. This is why I weigh more than 120 pounds. It's safety. You know what I'm saying? Safety. I'm not kidnappable. I'm definitely not the first person you're going to grab. And I have more cans of soda. So all good, right? So take a look at that difference. You have less cans of soda, but it loses the same amount. So it's a higher percentage. Man, oh man. So important that we recognize when we should stop the bleeding and how to do it. And we'll get right to that. Okay, so there's 4 things we want you to just in general look at. Your personal safety, huge. They've talked about this all week. But if you are in danger, leave. And it's okay to leave. It's hard psychologically, but we really need you to leave because we do not want you to become another victim. Okay, the next couple pictures are going to be gross. So this is fair warning. Cover your eyes, do what you need to, and I will make sure and tell you when they pass. So identifying the injury. For those of you who still have your eyes open, this is a leg. It's the inside of the left leg. And take a look at the amount of blood that has soaked into the dressing underneath, because we're going to talk about that. So you have to expose that and make sure that you can see all of it, unfortunately. And then we're going to talk about 2 methods to get that to stop bleeding. One of them, as you can see, this is an arm, but look how effective that tourniquet is. Oof, that just, every time I see it, I'm like, oh, that is, ouch. You know what I mean? So, but look how effective that tourniquet is, because that would bleed like a stuck pig, as my Southern family would say. And again, that's deep enough for an artery because it's on the inside. So that high pressure pipe would be squirting. And lastly, so we stop the bleeding, and lastly, keep them warm. So turns out when you don't keep people warm who have lost blood, a thing happens in our body that we bleed more, right? So keep them warm. For whatever reason, our check liver light comes on and we bleed more. So if you can keep them warm, something to consider for your office or wherever you're at is just one of those solar blankets just to keep in your drawer or in your safety kit as well. They're pretty cheap on Amazon. All right, so where do we bleed? 3 places in general. So when it's the limbs, notice in limbs, in the junction, as they call it, and in the messy middle, direct pressure works all the time. So you are always generally prepared to stop bleeding with direct pressure. a lot of it. And if you're in that 120-pound range, if they're on the ground, and they all 98% of the time will be, put your knee on them. Just kneel down and put your knee directly on the wound. Does it hurt? Yes. Does it stop the bleeding? Yes. So put your knee on it. And otherwise, put those hands straight down and just lean, just like you were going to do like a compression. So just lean in. So all of that, direct pressure works for all of those. If it's on the extremity, you can do direct pressure, and then we're going to talk about putting on a tourniquet. This is what the American College of Surgeons have come out with, and it's in your handouts. So you can post this anywhere. If you need a better copy, let me know, and I'm happy to send it to you, but I think you should be able to blow up whatever copy that you have. So again, ensuring your safety, looking for the bleeding, and if it's available, you don't have anything, you have your hands, direct pressure, and you can take off your shirt. I'm not going to bless y'all and take off my shirt right now because I want to come back to the conference. So you have what's available. If you have a kit, which is ideal, we're going to talk about if it's in the arm or leg, put on a tourniquet, and if it's not, direct pressure. But remember, with every wound you see, you can stuff it and use direct pressure. So when it comes to bleeding, we tend to be judges of other bleeders and lawyers of our own. So if I cut my finger, I'm like, holy cow, this is a lot because it's my blood, and we're going to need a little ring tourniquet, something super small that's going to sit on here because it's my blood. But if it's others' blood, we're always like, is that enough? Like, I don't know. Do we really feel that this is something we're going to do something about? So what's the bleeding you do something about? Join with me in doing this because it makes it funner. Ready? If it spurts, which means it's hitting that high pressure pipe, and I wouldn't use that to count a pulse. Does that make sense? Like it goes really fast and then it just gets slower and stops. So I'm kidding y'all. So if it spurts, if it pools, and you can see in that picture, it's kind of pooling underneath them. And if it soaks, remember the picture that some of you looked at? It had blood that was soaked into that bandage. That's bleeding we do something about. So if it spurts, pools, or soaks, one more time, spurts, pools, or soaks, then we're going to do something about it. Denim is interesting. So did you know how much blood it takes for denim to absorb before it drips? Think of a number in your head. Think in liters. 2. It will soak up 2 liters before it starts to drip. So if you see dripping denim, it's a problem. That's a lot of blood. It's a lot of blood. Okay. So if it does spurt, pool, or soak, this is another handout we put in your handout bucket. Just what we talked about. So if it's spurting, pooling, or soaking, we can apply pressure with hands and body weight pressure, and press. And if you have a tourniquet, you can apply it to the limbs, because tourniquets on necks are super tough, really hard to defend, shouldn't have them there. Make sense? Okay, so as far as these are the locations where the tourniquets are not great, so we're going to stuff the wound. So with that, you're going to press, you need to get down inside the wound and use direct pressure. Do we have to have something clean, or can we use a shirt? What if the shirt's dirty? That's okay. What if it's Gary's dirty sock? That's okay too. Can we use anything that's available? Absolutely. Get it in there and stuff and stop. As far as the infection piece, that's going to be taken care of at the hospital. They're really good at that, because we want them to, we can work to survive the infection. What we can't do is work to restart all the organs that were starved of oxygen. So that's the logic behind that. So exposing the wound, we're going to sweep out the blood and then stuff it, pack the wound, and hold pressure for 10 minutes, which feels like 8 to 14 weeks, like a long time. So when you want to at home, just hold pressure on your desk or something and start a 1-minute timer and see how long that feels. It's a long, long time. So realize that if you're getting tired, it's okay. Take your hands off, put your knee down. Somebody is either going to relieve you that looks like an officer or somebody that can relieve you. And if you become unsafe, again, it's okay, but very difficult. I totally agree. It's okay to leave because your safety is the most important thing. We can secure the packing. And this always comes up, like, what about gloves and getting bloods on my hands? Totally. If you would like to keep gloves as a little kit in your desk or wherever you're at, that's a good idea. Goggles might be a good idea. I can tell you based on a lot of years in the field, I wore gloves, but I saw many instances where blood got on my skin or anything else. I never contracted any disease. Blood, your skin is very, very good at protecting it. So as long as you have skin that is intact, you should be fine. The reason people wear gloves is because the cuticles are sometimes a little bit crazy, and it's in the hospital setting and healthcare setting, it's just a standard. But realize that if you don't have gloves, don't hesitate to help. But you can be prepared by having gloves ahead of time. And what's the last thing we need to do? Keep them warm. Keep them warm so that check liver light doesn't come on and we keep bleeding. It's just one of those things that our body does to protect ourselves. If it's in the messy middle, we are big bags of goo, y'all. Just big bags of goo. And it's hard to put pressure on, like, the belly. I was at a lawyer's office in the Bay Area, and my yearly salary wouldn't cover the rug that I was standing on. Beautiful place. And the lawyer was like, so how much like can you stuff into that wound? And when it comes to a belly, y'all, you can lose a watch. Like, it can go very deep in there. Do your best, because your best is absolutely better than nothing. So stuff as much as you can and give direct pressure. Whoops. Hey, Sabella, can you play the video? We got a little video of stuffing the wound.
Okay, first you're going to sweep the wound, see if you can clear any debris out of there. Then you're going to stuff, and you're going to press, and you're going to continue to stuff and press, and stuff and press. And when you think you've stuffed enough, stuff some more, and then you're going to hold direct pressure on that for as long as needed.
Big shout out to my buddy Nick. So did you see how he took that bandage, twirled it around his fingers and stuffed it in, and twirled it around his fingers and stuffed it in? You're doing that because you want to keep that direct pressure as much as possible, as long as possible, before just, if you have a shirt, put the whole shirt into the wound. That's what we're looking for. All right. I lost myself. That happens a lot. Okay, so now we're going to talk about tourniquets. So again, the messy middle, arms, legs, kind of the joint areas, you can always stuff the wound and use direct pressure. On the extremities, we can use a tourniquet. And how much is too much bleeding? Spurts, pools, soaks. That's the bleeding we're going to do something about. So with the tourniquet, you're going to, it has these parts. So what if you don't have a tourniquet? Can you use something that you just have? Like, can I use a belt? Can I use suspenders? It's a difficult answer. So the trauma surgeons that I've worked with are like, not only no, but heck no, get a tourniquet. Just get one. If you're gonna buy one, it's in your kit, your PDF kit. We worked with a friend of mine. I get zero financial gain from this, by the way, nothing. that you can buy a kit, and with school safety coupon code, you can get 10% off, which I think is a pretty good deal, and it'll be shipped to you. So having a tourniquet, an actual tourniquet, the importance of that is they tested Army Rangers to see how effective they would be in putting on a tourniquet. And those guys, they make stuff up on the fly. They are very, very good at this. So what they found was that the Rangers couldn't do it. So that gave no confidence to the American trauma surgeons that said, well, look, if the Army Rangers can't do it, the average Joe can't do it as well. So we're going to do everything we can to get the word out and have big tourniquet kits available. More and more, we're seeing tourniquets placed next to AEDs, giant kits that have, 10 to 20 tourniquets in them, and they're commercially available. So I'm going to stand with the ACS and say, man, oh man, get a tourniquet. And I've tried like improvising a tourniquet, and I'm not saying that it can't be done. I'm just saying it can't be done quickly. And what we need is speed. So I'll let you make your own decision on that, but we are going to talk about the tourniquet that the Department of Defense has approved. So with these components, you're going to see the rod, the clip, and the band. So I have one. So you can see it here. And it is all Velcro. It's got red at the end. And this just twists into place. So how do you put these things on? Well, if it's an arm, you're going to slip it. It's going to go high and tight. High and tight. And you're going to pull tightly till you can only have, so if it's high and tight, you're going to pull this out and wrap it around. Can it go over my shirt? Absolutely. Can it go over a parka? By the way, I'm in Sacramento, California, and it was 32 degrees this morning. All Californians, all Sacramentos, we thought we were going to die. Like, we were like, what? We don't know what to do. Parkas were everywhere. Uggs were everywhere. It's crazy. So can this go over a parka? Probably not. But can this go over a light jacket or a windbreaker? Yes, absolutely. So you're going to have it tight, and then tight enough that you can't fit 2 fingers underneath that. You're able to see? And then you're going to wrap it around, twist until they scream. Ow. Why are we twisting until they scream? Because we can't see blood stopping. If we're in the dark, or they're wearing dark clothing, very, very hard to see any seepage of blood. If you're able to expose it, great, but it's still difficult. The person being in pain and saying ow means you're winning. It means it's tight enough and you're winning. So that's what you're looking for. So it's high and tight, tight to 2 fingers, and then twist until they scream. And if you can, keep them warm. You can bring this back around so it's up here. And if you would like to, you can secure the strap. And there you go. How long can this thing stay on? Great question. Right now they're saying 3 to 4 hours, but we have military data that is showing up to 24 hours, which is giant. It's gonna be painful. This thing is not designed to be comfy. It's designed to be effective. So high and tight to 2 fingers, and then twist until they scream. Well, what if it's a leg? Again, high and tight, you're going to do the same thing. The only difference is with the leg is that we recommend that instead of having it looped this way, with the leg, you open it all together. You just open it all together and take it through once it's on the leg. You're still going to do high and tight. You're still going to tighten it so you can't fit 2 fingers underneath. The reason for that is it gives you more tightening in the windlass. If it's loose here, you have to use more of the windlass and you might run out. So we want you to have that super tight to 2 fingers, and then you're able to use more of the windlass. And if you'd like to, put that over the top, call yourself a lifesaver. Remember to keep them warm. And Sabella, can you show the tourniquet video, please?
Go. Place the tourniquet high and tight. 2-finger tightness. Twist until they scream. Ow. Secure the tourniquet.
Perfect. Thank you. So big shout out to my friends at Woodland Fire. That's actually my hometown. I don't live there anymore, but I get to work with the fire department there, and they are awesome dudes. So when I told them they needed to act like they were in pain, that was the best they could give me, the big ow. So those 3 points are all you need to remember. High and tight, tight to 2 fingers, twist until they scream. This is, if you have the ability to take a picture or a screenshot, this is a good one. So your do's, good to know, and the don'ts. So when do we put it on? We're going to use it on extremities, spurts, pools, and soaks. High and tight, use them quick. The don'ts, don't remove them, and don't make them up. What's good to know is if you're not getting bleeding control with the first tourniquet, give them a buddy. Get a second tourniquet. You go from high and tight to wide and tight. So if you're not getting control, it's okay to put that second tourniquet on there. Trauma surgeon I talked to, the example he gave me was they had an 81-year-old male. And because of the stiffening of his artery, they were not able to get control with one, but they got control with 2. And if you, these slides will be available to you. And again, any questions? This is among my favorite things to talk about. So please let me know. And lastly, keep them warm. To recap, I went to paramedic school. I did not go to graphic artist school. So this is my reminder to you to keep these folks warm. It is so important. It's one of the components in trauma science they call it the triad of death, which is, how super fun is that? Like, we're going to name it joyfully, the triad of death, but one of them is them getting cold. So it's really important that you keep them warm. So real quick to recap, how much is enough bleeding that we need to do something about? If it's spurts, pools, and soaks. For the 3 people out there that did that with me, high five, big high five. Anywhere you have bleeding, swoop, stuff, and press. Body weight pressure, at least 10 minutes. While you're waiting for a tourniquet, if you have a tourniquet with you, those go on the extremities, high and tight. Tight to 2 fingers and twist until they scream. I'd be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to the folks who wrote the original paper. These are the guys who did this because what the Hartford Consensus did was found the problem, and these guys said, hey, we think we have a solution. And I'm very, very fortunate to be friends with 98% of those guys. And they did it all for free, and they gave away the curriculum for free. So I'm a big fan of them. And Jim Manson is one of the guys that I recommended that you buy the tourniquets from him, because he designed the kit that is used and sold by most agencies. All right. If you have any questions, I'm down for them. Thank you so much. This has been great. Gary, thanks for having me, man.
No. I've got to thank you once again, because, like I said, what I liked the most when I first heard you present in Sacramento, I definitely like the spurt, pool, and soak, because everyone gets that one. And yeah. So, because I remember the first time, when do I put on a tourniquet? That made it very simple. It also made it very simple when you said, this is going to hurt. And, when we do this, it is going to hurt, and we don't expect it to hurt.
And that's winning.
Yeah,
Screaming
that's
winning.
The thing about improvised tourniquets, I am so glad you brought that up. And it's someone, Laval said that the safety and security department uses the cat tourniquets.
Yep.
Bobby
Awesome.
Joe said, great presentation. Loved your humor. Again,
Oh,
I think you might have been one of the last ones of the day when all of us were saying ready to check out, and you kept us all going. But really, I want people to actually try this at home. Take an old T-shirt, tear it into strips, try to make it into a tourniquet, and you find out you can't. I don't care what the Boy Scout manual says. You can't take a belt and make a tourniquet and get it tightened up. It just doesn't work.
And and if I had people ask me about phone cords, I'm like, no, phone cords are bad because that's super narrow. We don't want narrow is the worst. Don't do that.
Yeah. And then the one thing that I just recently heard that I had to laugh out loud in class, the instructor said, look, if you put a tourniquet on this person and stop the bleed, but you don't keep them warm, they're going to die with a pretty tourniquet on. And I thought, yeah, that's absolutely. Now, someone has asked a question. Jacob's asked a question. Can you go over about bleed care with someone still penetrated through the skin, arrows, etc.?
Okay, so Jacob, excellent question. So the two reasons we take out, the only reason to take out like an arrow or something else, funny that you came up with arrow. Like I have great pictures in my head of, awesome. So all I can think of is Monty Python. Like it's a flesh wound anyway. So is if it interferes with the airway or interferes with doing CPR. So it's in the back and you have to roll them over or something like that. As far as just pack around the device, whatever it is, leave it in place unless it interferes with the airway or interferes with doing CPR, and pack around the device. Don't pull it out. Don't. Because it could be that it's against one of those high pressure pipes. Do you see what I mean? It's against one of those high pressure pipes and holding that. And if you pull it out, there it goes. It's a great question, Jacob.
That is a phenomenal way to explain that too, Lori. Thank you very much. I've got, I know there are certificates given to those who take the official Stop the Bleed class. Do persons who receive this certificate need refresher training, or is it a once it's certified, always certified?
I would love to say that once certified, always certified. That's kind of the way they're doing it now, just to get the rollout done. But what I recommend at like offices is once you have a tourniquet, quarterly at your office meeting, just go, okay, so it's tourniquet time. So while you're doing the meeting, everybody practices putting on the tourniquet. So it's a part of something you're already doing, and it doesn't have to be something special. Whoever asked that question, if you want to reach out to me, we can work together and come up with ideas. Gary, I know some of the cops, especially in Denver, they, as part of their pew pew training, I'm sure there's a better term for that, the gun training.
Right.
So they have to, thank you. Firearms training, they have to do the tourniquet that time as well. So they've incorporated that training together.
Yeah, absolutely, because that's a good time to do it. We usually do tourniquet training that just as a reminder because we have the range kit.
Right.
So that is very important. Let's go with relationships within your community.
Yeah.
A lot of my clients here in Central Ohio and some of my clients down in Texas, we've had Stop the Bleeding training for free because we utilized our fire departments.
Yep.
You know, and I'm always a big fan of free.
Yeah. It fits into every budget.
Yeah. And Lavelle just said we do yearly Stop the Bleed training refresher, and that is great. I mean,
that's awesome.
And like I said, I had taken combat medical course. I'm the range officer, the range first aid officer. I've had a ton of training.
Yeah.
And every time the chief says, "Hey, there's another training class," I'm going to go. And I look at this Stop the Bleed training the exact same way I use CPR training. I have never used CPR in the field. I've used Stop the Bleed, but I have used CPR outside of the field.
Yeah.
At church, somewhere else.
Yeah.
And so this is a transferable skill that people could use with their own family members.
Exactly.
And,
I bought coming into my family's annual training. Every time I go to Thanksgiving, I'm like, hi, guess what we're doing? Yep, we're doing this. It's Thanksgiving, time to do it.
But I also bought first aid kits for my family. I bought them the same
Absolutely.
kind of tourniquets to bleed control
Absolutely.
and we talked about this yesterday. We don't put any hemostatic gauze because it's going to expire.
It expires. Yeah.
And so, and the other thing, I'm looking at my notes and I don't have my glasses on. I want to thank you for talking about safety.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if you're the only person that knows how to do first aid, stop the bleed, etc.,
Yeah.
and you enter into a hot zone to save somebody, and you go down, now there's nobody who can do first aid. So always think about your own personal safety before anything else. Okay.
And everybody's freaking out about you because they know you as the safety person, and if you go down, they're like, "We're totally screwed."
Yeah,
and nobody's
exactly.
thinking right.
That's great. Hey, I'm going to ask a question. I got to make sure that I'm going to put my glasses on.
Must be serious. You're getting daunted.
It is
All right.
because Ryan C. Love.
Okay.
I want you to make sure, Ryan, that you copy down Lori's email address and phone number. It's obviously going to be on the handout you're going to get. Ryan C. Love, in a randomized drawing, was the person who won the kit. So I think that's phenomenal. I'm going to check for any more questions. Does anybody have? And Ryan, if you could do me a favor, could you make sure that you didn't just log in and then went to sleep somewhere? Could you put in the question that you got Lori's address so I can make sure that you get what you need?
Ryan, what we're going to do is send you a kit because it has a tourniquet and it's just in this kind of cool hemostatic sealed thing that my friend Jim helped design, and we want to make sure that we give back to the communities that we get to talk to. It's more important to us that y'all are safe and that you're resilient than anything else. So it's absolutely our pleasure, and I can't wait to hear from you, Ryan. Grab my email and send me a message.
Hey, one other thing too, when you talk about cats and stuff.
Yeah.
The last training I went to, they said don't buy cats on Amazon.
Correct.
And the reason for that is
because so it turns out there's fake tourniquets out there. If you're gonna buy a tourniquet, again, I recommend buying it from the QR code that I sent you because you're gonna get the quality stuff. If you're gonna go on Amazon, you got to spend at least $30. You're gonna go, man, I can get like 100 for $7, and they'll break. It's a terrible, terrible thing. But there's a lot of copycats out there, and they don't care about quality. So if you're gonna go to Amazon, spend at least $30. And again, it's worth it. Just use that QR code, and if the QR code doesn't work, just contact me, and I will get you right to the website, and you can use the coupon code School Safety, and it's going to give you 10% off.
Okay. I have one in my briefcase, and I have one in my car.
Me too.
Make sure I have them. You know.
This was my car version. Yep.
Yeah. And if they're going to do training, they need to make sure they get the trainers, because there's no difference between the trainer and the real deal. But you can't use tourniquets are a single use. Once you've used them on one person.
So what they found when they were doing the training is they were giving Denver Health was giving everybody one of these, and then they found that they broke. So they got a hold of manufacturers and said, we need training ones. And again, I will throw myself out there in this world of Zooms and whatever else. If you would like me to present to your school or talk to your group or whatever else, man, oh man, I am happy to do that gladly. And my fee fits into every budget, $0, because this is more important to me than it's just so important to the community at large. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna wait for a few more questions, and if we don't have any, you missed it yesterday because I did my Bueller. Okay, a lot of positive, awesome thanks. Humor.
Hold on, mask pants. I'm looking at the question. They did away with mask pants. Let me tell you why.
Okay.
It's hysterical. So mask pants. Yeah, poor Gary's like, what's a mask pant? Gary, you wouldn't understand. You're just a cop. Just kidding. So they were like flight suit pants that blew up. So it pushed
Ah,
all the blood, right,
okay.
up into the chest. It came out of Texas. It was a big thing for a minute. So what happened to mask pants was we realized that when we cut off the mask pants, first off, what the body does when it doesn't have enough blood is it does this and it pushes everything up. So the body was already doing that, and we were putting mask pants onto flattened um, toothpaste bottles. Like it had nothing in it. And then when we took them off, they were much worse. So
Mm.
because they were killing people, they took them away. Weird science.
I have seen the clothing where the tourniquets are built in to the arms and legs.
They stopped doing them.
Did they?
Yep.
I,
Yep.
I,
Because it was cool. It was
yeah.
it was a great idea. And Special Forces tried it and they were like, terrible. Doesn't
Okay.
work.
Hey, someone asked about elastic tourniquets, the SWAT team.
I'm not, yeah, the SWAT tees. So the Dr. Pons, who I stay in contact with, is the guy who came up with this whole curriculum. I was like, hey, so what do you think about the SWAT tees? Because they're a little bit easier to put on. And he said, yeah, they're great if you want people to die. And I was like, okay, so fair. So they did the testing. I'm a big fan of the Department of Defense's testing. So if they recommend it, I will recommend it. They don't recommend SWAT tees, even though they are easier to put on. That elastic stretches and there's no control over it, where this one does not stretch and maintains that pressure. The SWAT tee doesn't maintain the pressure, and you don't know it because you had already put it on. You thought it was good.
I know that some school districts have learned, because unless you get special cats,
Yeah.
a cat will not work on a small child. And so,
And nobody will come out and say, because I try to keep up on the literature, and I've talked to the folks who really keep up on that literature. I was like, so what's the deal with the kids? And I talked to a pediatric trauma surgeon, 2 of them, to find out what their opinion was. And they said, listen, that is probably going to work on up to the age where it would be effective. Below that age, where the tourniquet would not be effective, the chances of them having a wound that needed a tourniquet is very small. Does that make sense?
it does. It does.
Yeah.
But I understand why some people would want to use the SWAT T, because it does sound like it would be more effective on a small child. But under stress and pressure, it's very easy to get that windlass.
I live right next to UC Davis, and they are so against it.
Okay.
American College of Surgeons absolutely hates them.
Hey, someone asked, can you do this in Spanish?
Ooh, dude. So sorry, my California came out. Is it showing? So I would love to do this in Spanish. There's a big Spanish. I live in a big Spanish community. If somebody out there can work with me, I'd be a fan. I would train them. I would take the time, and if they can deliver that in Spanish, boom, I'd do that all day. That's cool.
Hey, and Anthony, you are correct. You know, we talk about the platinum 10 and the golden hour. If I can get to you within 10 minutes and stop the bleeding and then get you to the hospital within an hour, I'm going to increase your chances of survival. And Irma, if you have Lori's information, so please contact her.
Yeah.
Like I said, we saw how long this took. It doesn't take a long time to do this training. Obviously, you want a hands-on piece. And
I can help you set that up as well.
Yeah,
totally.
yeah. So again, I'm going to go back to what I said at the very beginning today. I am always looking for people to present at conferences. I saw Lori, and I knew immediately we had to have her for this conference, although it was supposed to be live and in Vegas. But I also am going to say to you guys once again before we sign off, every one of you who's been attending has to have some kind of expertise, has to have overcome some challenge in your district, in your department, that you can share with other people. And so when you see these things, call for presentations, call for articles. Please take advantage of that, because we need to have your information, your knowledge as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much, Gary, and Sabella, and man, I forgot her name. I am so sorry, but both of those folks,
Teams
they're
here.
awesome. Everybody needs a Sabella.
Yep. So it was great seeing you again. I just want to say that I am so glad that you could be a part of that.
Yeah.
Folks, you have our information. Please take advantage of it, and have a great weekend. Have a great Thanksgiving, Lori.
Happy Thanksgiving. Thanks. Bye.
Okay, folks. Our next presentation is going to be with Sergeant Stefan Beige, and he is going to talk about responding to autism, a law enforcement approach. Again, he is somebody I met at a conference, and he's a great guy. So I want to thank everyone for attending, and we'll see you this afternoon.